Hey everybody, this is Steve, and fasting is about way more than food. Yesterday was the start of the Nativity Fast, which lasts for 40 days and prepares us for Christmas, the celebration of the incarnation and nativity of Jesus Christ. Fasting is a big part of our spiritual discipline as Orthodox Christians. We have 4 major fasting periods, which lead up to 4 major feast days: Pascha, Christmas, the Feast of the Apostles, and the Dormition of the Virgin Mary. And we fast on most Wednesdays and Fridays throughout the year. If you add it all up, that's more than half the year. I remember having a hard time with fasting as a kid because I never really understood why we do it. I mean, what's the point of not eating pizza or hamburgers for 40 days at a time? Today, I want to share 3 basic reasons fasting is a part of our Christian lives. And once we lay that foundation, I want to suggest a new way we approach fasting. Specifically, I want to share why we should consider fasting from social media. Let's start by first talking about how fasting is good for us in general. First, fasting helps strengthen our hearts. When we fast, we normally avoid animal products like meat and dairy, and sure, a vegan diet has health benefits, but that's not what I mean. I mean the spiritual heart, the core of who we are, and fasting is a way to discipline your spiritual heart and strengthen it. Back in episode 156, we talked about what to do with bad thoughts and temptations, and we explored how silence can strengthen our attention as we struggle to direct our lives towards God and good things. Fasting is a way to strengthen our hearts as we deny things that we enjoy, things that give us pleasure for the sake of the Lord. In some sense, we are taking steps to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. We learn how to become people who aren't enslaved by every want and desire. We learn to just say no. In the grand scheme of things, avoiding meat on a Wednesday or Friday isn't a big deal. But as someone who loves food and gets seriously tempted by a medium rare bacon cheeseburger, I can tell you that fasting is tough. If we can develop inner strength by practicing saying no to the good things we enjoy, like yummy foods, then we can also develop the strength and discipline to say no to destructive urges and sinful temptations and tendencies that lurk in our hearts. To gossip behind someone's back, to lash out violently when we're angry, to succumb to lust when we're with someone we care about, or when we're alone. The second reason fasting is important is it helps open us to our need for God. Fasting isn't just about eating different kinds of food, it's also about eating less. A full stomach can tempt us to think that we're in control. We push a button and food arrives at our door. The Desert Fathers and Mothers saw how a full stomach could weaken their attention and make them more likely to fall into sin. But an empty stomach sharpens our attention, and it points us to a deeper hunger, not for food, but for a deeper relationship with the Lord. After all, man does not live by bread alone. And there's a reason that we fast during periods of spiritual preparation, because we fill that deeper hunger for God with increased church services and private prayer during those fasting periods. The third reason fasting is important is it helps us stand together with people who are in need. Fasting doesn't just go with increased prayer. It has always gone hand in hand with philanthropy as well. As we spend less on food because we're both eating simply and eating less, we have more funds left over to offer to others. We direct fewer resources towards ourselves and our own comfort and have more available for people in need. After all, when we learn to go a little hungry, to be comfortable being uncomfortable, it's no problem skipping a meal so someone else can eat. The church has spent centuries experimenting with fasting and understanding through direct experience how our relationship with food affects our spiritual lives. But there's a new thing that we haven't quite dealt with as a church: social media. I think we all know how widespread social media has become. I mean, your parents and grandparents probably have at least a Facebook account and maybe even a Snapchat or Instagram. But teenagers are, by far, the most active people online. In fact, the Pew Research Center has found that over 85% of teenagers have and use social media every day, and over 95% have a smartphone. That's a huge increase from 10 years ago, when only about half of teenagers used social media on a regular basis and almost none had a smartphone. And according to the most recent National Survey of Drug Use and Health, something else has changed over that same decade. Depression has increased by 74% amongst teenage boys, and it's literally doubled in teenage girls. This rise in depression seems directly tied to the rise of social media, and it's leading people to fear that our online interactions are hurting people mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The numbers back up my own experience, because when I talk to teenagers at camps and retreats, they say that one of the best parts of being there is not using their phones, that they're forced to detach from things like Instagram and Snapchat, whether it's for a day, a weekend, or a whole week. We all know that taking a break from social media can be relieving and refreshing, but it's hard to take a break from social media when someone's not there to take our phones, when we're not at camp or somewhere where there's no internet connection. But the beginning of a fasting period is the perfect time to reevaluate our day-to-day habits and to make an effort to spiritually renew our lives, to clear our hearts of junk in order to make room for the Spirit of God. The start of this Nativity fast is the perfect opportunity to rethink how and when we use social media, to put some boundaries around it for the sake of our spiritual and mental health. Remember the 3 basic reasons why fasting is so important? Well, taking a break from social media actually fits with each of those reasons perfectly. First, fasting from social media strengthens our hearts. Social media is designed for the lazy scroll, for filling hours of our day just consuming content about the most random of things. When we have a free moment or feel the slightest bit of boredom, we reach for our phones and start scrolling through our favorite social media app to fill the time. And when our phone buzzes with a notification, we get a dopamine rush and jump to see what's happening because, and I hate to be the one to tell you if you don't know this already, but you're probably addicted to your phone. But if we control ourselves and stop engaging with social media for a period of time, from filling our empty minutes with endless content, just like we stop filling our stomachs during a fast, we build up our will and even help our brains heal from their dopamine addiction. We strengthen our ability to say no to each impulse and urge and to let go of things that aren't that important. We free ourselves from being controlled by the world around us. As St. Paul tells us in his epistle to the Romans, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And this points to the second reason social media can be an important part of fasting, because it helps open us up to our need for God. Social media is built to distract us. When something goes wrong in our lives, when we struggle during a difficult time, or even if we're just bored, it's easy to open up social media and get lost in the endless posts and memes and updates. We don't have to face our struggles when we distract ourselves with an endless sea of content, so we trick ourselves into thinking that we're okay. But there's a reason that depression has risen so much over the last decade, because we're actually not okay. But the more time we spend distracting ourselves, the more we think we've got everything under control. Just like keeping our stomachs full gives us the illusion that we're secure and in control of our lives. But of course, that's not true, and that's why we fast. That's why we choose to eat less, so we can cultivate a hunger that reminds us to turn back to God. Similarly, if we remove Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok from our phones for a few weeks, we won't have anywhere to go to distract ourselves from what's really happening in our lives. Our only option will be to turn to God. So instead of filling our time with mindlessly scrolling through social media feeds, we'll fill the tiny moments of our day with prayer and scripture, like we covered back in episode 150. We may even begin to notice that those little empty moments throughout the day aren't empty at all. Free of distractions, little by little, we can become more aware of the heavenly King who really is present in all places and filling all things. We may sense him in the movement of the wind. We may see him in the loving embrace of a mother and a child, or we may even hear his whisper in the quiet of our own hearts. As Jonah said when he was stuck in the belly of the whale, "When I had lost all hope, I turned my thoughts once more to the Lord, and my earnest prayer went to you in your holy temple." Finally, social media helps us stand together with people who are in need. There's no doubt about it. Social media has divided us more than ever. It teaches us to think in quick sound bites and oversimplified us versus them paradigms. It shows us the best of our friends' lives and makes us feel terrible about our own. It desensitizes our hearts and minds to the harmfulness of our own negative thoughts, words, and deeds. And above all, it puts us on the defensive. It forces us to cynically want to fight the world instead of opening our arms to embrace it. And that divisive toxicity spills over to our day-to-day lives. As Christ tells a crowd in the Gospel according to Luke, "Your eye is the lamp of your body. When your eye is sound, your whole body is full of light. But when it is not sound, your body is full of darkness. Therefore be careful, lest the light in you be darkness. If then your whole body is full of light, having no part dark, it will be wholly bright, as when a lamp with its rays gives you light." In other words, the character of what we consume on social media can build up a darkness inside of us that causes us to cynically oppose our brothers and sisters in need, to the point that we see others as enemies rather than brothers and sisters, icons of Christ. But if we take a break from the divisive nature of social media, we can refill our hearts with the light of Christ and start loving our neighbors rather than going to war with them. So for these three basic reasons, I hope we can all fast, not just from food, but from social media as well, which may sound really hard, especially if you're really attached to your phone. So here are a few simple ways to approach a social media fast. You can start with something as simple as setting boundaries around your phone and social media. I've set a little alarm to go off every night at 9 p.m. That's my cue to put my phone to the side. For me, this is a keystone habit, which is an important topic we covered back in episode 143. When I put my phone to the side, I'm way more likely to follow through on the other good habits that I want to build for my evening routine: saying prayers, reading, and going to bed on time. As you get better at setting boundaries, maybe you can start avoiding social media when you fast, on Wednesdays and Fridays, and even during full fasting periods. If keeping that boundary is hard, it may help to delete social media apps from your phone for the next 40 days altogether, and then reinstall them when the fast is over. Any of these approaches can be a good way to fast from social media, both during this nativity season and at other times during the year. The important thing is to talk to your spiritual father and find an approach that is challenging yet achievable. Just like we ease into the way we fast from food, we can ease into the way we fast from social media. And just as importantly, even if you do choose to fast from social media these next 40 days, don't use that as an opportunity to ignore the existing fasting tradition of the church. The good news is that you can do both. You can fast from social media and from food. The church's guidelines for fasting have changed lives and formed saints who have a deep relationship with Christ. Engaging in the struggle of following these fasting guidelines can help transform your life too. I hope you can fast from food to the extent that you're able, and I hope you'll consider doing the same with social media. To be honest, I've been thinking about getting off social media for a long time, both me personally and Y2AM as a whole, and maybe we can prepare for the Lord's Nativity by fasting from social media together. Even if all we do is put our phones to the side for a few hours every evening, maybe we can work to realign ourselves with the Lord, just in time for his birth and incarnation. So let's be the bee and boost our spiritual lives by fasting from food and from social media. Be the bee and live orthodoxy. Remember to like and subscribe and share. I'll see you all next week. It's getting chilly out there. Below the video, you'll find links for Be the Bee hoodies, t-shirts, and more. And of course, on your screen, you'll be able to click to subscribe and check out more great videos from us at Y2AM. Thanks for watching. God bless you.